Yes, the game of chess. I see all of you sitting back in your chair getting ready to take a snooze because chess, right? A boring game that is never interesting and never uh, exciting to play. Well, and my goal today is to do my best to disabuse the fallacy that chess is a boring game, not interesting at all. You see, I would like to present to you chess, my history in chess, how to play the game, how the pieces move, and how to grow an interest in chess. You see, I started playing chess again just a couple of years ago, and about 3 or 4 months ago, when all sports closed down, all other competitive sports closed down, the game of chess actually took a spike in interest around the world. Chess.com, which is one of the most used internet sites when it comes to playing chess, went from 6.5 million games per day to 9.5 million games per day in the months of March and April. So obviously it has become much more popular and a lot more people are watching it. And there's a lot of online tournaments that are going on that people are watching. So let me start by letting you know how I got my interest in chess. Well, as a teenager, I got introduced to chess, how to play the game, how to move the pieces, how to direct everything. And that interest grew as I got into high school. You see, in high school, my homeroom class, which we would have about a 20 to 30-minute homeroom every single day, there was a group of us that really enjoyed playing chess. And my freshman year, we all started bringing chessboards to our homeroom time. The minute homeroom started, we would get these chessboards out and we would play as many games as we could during that time. And I looked forward to it every single day because I loved the fact that I was learning and growing in chess. Well, as that interest grew from my freshman year to my senior year, the entire school started finding out about what we were doing. That interest grew through the school, and because of our homeroom, we actually had a school-wide tournament. Freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors all played against each other. There was a champion from each grade who then played the champion from other grades. And of course, there was first, second, third, and fourth. Well, I was lucky enough to win the senior championship. Now, embarrassingly enough, I lost to the freshman. You can't lose to a freshman, right? But I did lose to the freshman, and I won the third and fourth place match against the sophomore. So I was quite excited that I took my chess skills to such a high level. Well, that interest died pretty quickly when I moved to Rochester, as I didn't have a lot of people to play with. But a few years ago, I started looking back into playing chess, and I found a chess club here in Rochester. I joined it about a year and a half ago, and I've been growing my interest in it once again. Well, because of all this that's happened, I haven't been able to go to my chess club, but I've found a lot of different internet sites where I can continue to play competitively against people right around my similar ranking. And I've been able to pay attention to all these international tournaments that are happening online that they are showing live either on YouTube or Twitch or all these other sites. So chess, how do you play? What does it look like? A lot of you maybe know, but I'd like to go over just some of the basics of chess today. You see, chess starts on a board similar to this. 64 squares, 32 of them light and 32 of them dark. Then you have pieces. You have the light pieces and you have the dark pieces. The pieces that I am showing in front of you today, these are called pawns. Pawns are considered to be some of the easiest to get rid of, and you tend to push those up the board first so that you can protect all of your minor pieces. Your minor pieces are going to be your knights and your bishops. Then, of course, you have your major pieces. Your major pieces are going to be your rooks, and the most powerful piece of the game the queen. Now, it is the most powerful piece because of what it can do in a game, but the most important piece, of course, is going to be the king. Because you see, the point of chess is to checkmate the king. When the king can no longer make any other moves, then you have properly checkmated your opponent and you win the game. Now, how does each one of these pieces move? Well, I'd like to share with you today. Normally, I would put a board in front of you and I would show you on the board how each piece moves. So I'm going to do my best to at least show you on this PowerPoint how each piece moves. So the first piece I showed you was the pawn. The pawn can move a few different ways. In a regular board game, it just moves one piece. Unless it's on the first move, it can actually move 2 squares ahead. But the only way a pawn can attack is diagonally. So as you can see on this picture right here, you have your pawn. On the first move, it can go either 1 or 2 moves. After that, it can only move 1 space forward unless it's attacking, and again, it attacks diagonally. The next are the bishops. You have 2 bishops on your board, and you have a light squared bishop and a dark squared bishop. The light squared bishop attacks on light squares diagonally, and the dark squared bishop attacks on dark squares diagonally. Next, you have a knight. And a knight is probably one of the most difficult pieces to understand and the most difficult pieces to move. And even at my point in the game, I sometimes miss a knight move. And that is, it moves in an L-shaped pattern. It is the only piece that can actually jump over other pieces as it moves. And it can either move in an L-shaped pattern one way or in an L-shaped pattern another way. You can see this knight right here in the middle of the board can go in an L-shaped pattern in all these different directions, and all these dark squares would be its next move. When it gets to a dark square, you would see a pattern of light squares in an L-shaped pattern that it would move. Next is the rook. The rook moves either horizontally or laterally according to where it is on the board. The queen, again, the most powerful piece, can move horizontally, it can move diagonally, it can move vertically, anywhere that it can go where it's not blockaded by another piece, it can go in any of those directions, and that's why it's the most powerful piece on the board. And then finally, the king. The king, very much like the queen, can go in any direction, but it can only move 1 square at a time. So that is the basic movements of each piece. So how do you play the game? Well, you align the pieces with the pawns in the front, and then you have all of your minor and major pieces in the back, and you start to move toward your opponent in a way that you're going to checkmate your opponent. And the game is fairly complicated from there, because as you move each piece, you have to make sure you're properly coordinating each piece to work together to properly checkmate the other person, along with making sure your king doesn't also get checkmated. And there are a lot of complications to the game, to the point where we actually split the game into 3 different areas: the opening, the middle game, and the end game. And there are hundreds of openings out there, with many, many books out there that you can actually read and study one opening potentially for years and still not understand every line from a single opening, because there are millions and millions of moves after you've even moved just a few pieces that you could potentially do, and how the game would potentially end. So where do I go from here? You learn the pieces, you learn how they go, you learn how to put them together. Well, from there, it's playing with somebody else, finding out how many mistakes you're going to make on a regular basis, finding out how you're going to properly put a full game together. Again, a opening, a middle game, and an end. Play games preferably with somebody close to your level, because if you're playing with somebody much higher than your level, you're going to give up on the game pretty quickly and realize I'm never going to understand this game and I'm never going to get to their level. But as you continue to play, if you're a competitor like I am, you would continue to grow in your knowledge and you're going to continue to learn from your mistakes. You see, chess is a game that if you can't learn from your mistakes, you're never going to enjoy it, because that's really what chess is. It's learning from your mistakes. So study opening, middle, and end games and continue to learn. And if you're like me, you're going to join the chess club and you're going to find people that enjoy the game just as much as you. So chess, I would encourage all of you to learn how to play it. I would encourage you to continue to learn how to play it, because you can, as an 8-year-old or an 88-year-old, you can play against someone who is much younger, much older. You don't have to be athletic. You don't have to be naturally good. You can continue to grow in this game throughout the years of your life. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.